January the 5th, 2026. Guys, I've been wanting to do this video for a couple of days, but it's one of those that if you don't really have time to sit down and do it right, it makes it extremely hard, and because you got to be careful with it and take your time and try to get it right. The other day we looked at the Gospel of Thomas, and remember there were several books removed, and they were discovered in 1945, and they're in the Nag Hammadi Library. They were discovered in sealed jars in Egypt. We talked about it. We went through the Gospel of Thomas, and that was the sayings of Christ that Thomas had written down. Now, they also removed the Gospel of Truth. They removed the Apocryphon of John and what is also called the Secret Book of John. Why did they take those out, guys? Because they were originally there. And, Enoch was originally there. A lot of books were. And because it did not fit the controlling narrative of the churches at that time, which had become, and the churches, guys, had actually taken over the political realm also. So you were dealing with the Roman armies, the other armies of the nations at that time, and the leaders all being run basically out of Rome and other power points. But it was a controlling thing. They came through. They burned everything that they didn't like. But the people that buried this in Egypt knew that the burnings were approaching that time. They were coming for them. I talked about it in the book of Thomas. So they put them in clay jars, and they sealed the books, and they sealed the jars, I think it was wax. They melted and poured, and that's what preserved them in that dry desert area. Anyway, they were working in a field. I think it goes to where they overturned a stone, and they found these jars there. And the stone was probably there on purpose so that it would be turned and it would be found. Now again, this is called a Providence hymn, and it's from the Apocryphon of John. Did not fit their narrative. Now it's a little different, and bear with me, because this is not all of the book of John or the secret book. This is just a section. And I think if you're not familiar with it, this is the easiest place to start, because it ties very easily into Genesis. At the same time, starts to put you on a path that you may have never been on before, and it's the only path that matters. It's called the Providence hymn. And I think the best way to say it is, who is talking here is Emmanuel, because that was what the angels told Mary to call Christ. God is with us. And so they were not separate at all. God just came into a physical body to try to save us from what Satan had put in place. And it was a great illusion. And Christ came to try to shine a light, pierce through that illusion, and free us. Because the illusion had been created going back to the garden. And the two brothers, you got Cain and Abel, you had the serpent in the garden. All of these things tie into what we're going to read here. And the jealousy that was created, and it was the devil who was jealous because of these creations. And he interfered greatly, and he even used his fallen angels, that we don't see. And what they're called are archons, A-R-C-H-O-N-S, in some of these books, especially here and in the Nag Hammadi. And archons are basically, from what I read, they're invisible dark spirits. Now, I don't know if they can step into a body or not, but that really, it doesn't matter here, because the battle, just like heaven is within us, the battle is within us. And so what Satan did was he couldn't recreate the beauty of the creation that our Father created, El Elyon, or in this case, the providence of everything, okay? Not a lesser God. This is and he really, It's not a God. It is a being. It is beyond physical being, but the providence of everything. Again, El Elyon, the creator of everything. Well, anyway, Satan was jealous, and he could not. What happened when Adam was created, the one that our Father created, he was more intelligent than Satan and the demons, the fallen angels, because he had the true light in him. And that really upset Satan and the demons. They couldn't believe it. So what they had to do was create another set of humans. And they then they put their light into this human that they created, but it was a false light. And when you combine that false light with the true light, you still have a light, but it's dim. And that's what they wanted. They had to stop you from understanding the truth. They had to put invisible barriers in that could affect your mind. And they used frequencies. This is a real event, guys. Pay attention to it. Doubt is a major player. Fear is another player. But the way it works, say if you've decided, well, I want to sit down and have a really good prayer. I want to talk to my Father in heaven, and I'll get some things straightened out and pray and all of that. And things like that, or you're trying to focus on good things, or the main thing is enlightenment. In other words, you are trying, and we all are trying to reach salvation. And heaven is within us. So is our mind, and that our mind is what is affected by these demons and the frequencies they create. Doubt is a big one. Let's read it. Again, I am the providence of everything. I became like my own human children. Again, Emmanuel. I existed from the first. I walked down every possible road. And by the way, Christ pulled each of these disciples away from any of the other ones to give them this information, just like he called Thomas aside, right? This is the Apocryphon of John. He said, I existed from the first. I walked down every possible road. I am the wealth of the light. I am the remembering of the fullness. Now, what does he mean by remembering? He's telling us that we have to remember the wealth of the light and of the fullness, not the dim light. And there's ways to do it, and there's ways that the dim light is used against us. He said, I walked into the place of greatest darkness and on down. I entered the central part of the prison. What did Jesus do? He entered Hades, remember, and freed the prisoners. He said, the foundations of chaos quaked. I hid because of their evil. They did not recognize me. They knew something was wrong, but Christ, or Emmanuel, was smart enough to hide what was happening. It wasn't because of fear. He said, I came down a second time continuing on. I emerged from among those of light. I am the remembering of providence. That's the Holy Spirit. That is our Creator. I entered the middle of darkness, the inner part of the underworld, to pursue my mission. What was his mission? It was to free us. The foundations of chaos quaked, threatening to collapse upon all who were there and utterly destroy them. I soared up again to my roots and lights so as not to destroy them all yet. I descended a third time. Well, how long was it? 3.5 days or something like that? I am light. I am dwelling in light. I am the remembering of providence. Why does that remembering of providence come up, guys? It's because we have forgotten. There has been an illusion created that affects us, and it blocks the God frequency, which I've always said exists. You know, many people look at different frequencies. They say the prayer meditation frequencies, 8 to 12 cycles per second, or the alpha, beta waves, all of that. Well, there's frequencies of communication to our mind that can be controlled, not just by our Father, but by the evil entities. They can introduce thoughts of doubt, of guilt, and you think it's your thoughts, That's why he said, I am dwelling in light. I am the remembering of providence. You are not who they are saying you are. And when you say you're, again, about to do something, pray or something, and then suddenly a thought comes in your head to distract you. You can't quite relax enough. Something happens, or usually it's a thought introduced by a frequency that makes you think about something else, or makes you start to worry about something else. Stops your connection with the true light. That's what they're doing. That's how they operate now. We're going to look at it a little closer. Again, this is the easiest section of this book to introduce someone into a little bit deeper information. Now, this third time he says, I entered the midst of darkness. I came to the deepest part of the underworld. I let my face light up, thinking of the end of their time. I entered their prison. The body is that prison. What did he just say? What's in your body? Your mind, your spirit, your soul, your heart, all of that. But in your mind is their prison. And that body is the prison. Your body. It's a mental thing. This spiritual war going on is not something you're going to run around with swords and fight and all of this. This is just within you. You alone, and the light of our Father and the dim light that's trying to block you. And it's a real thing, guys. If you think it's just you, if you think, well, I can't get my thoughts together, I can't really focus that well, all of that is planned in this illusion. This phase of the illusion that was created when Satan had tried to create man in their image, and they created this realm of semi-light. If we don't realize what happened in the beginning, we're not going to understand how to achieve the end in the right way. Christ said, the body is the prison, and he cried out, anyone who hears, rise up from your deep sleep. Are you listening? And the sleeping one awoke and wept, wiping bitter tears, saying, who calls me? Where has my hope come from as I lie in the depths of this prison? In other words, Christ just woke up the mind. Let the true light hit it and free it away from the doubts and the nagging spirits that's saying that you can't do this. They can create things to happen because it is their illusion we're having to deal with. And the sleeping one awoke again and wept, where has my hope come from as I lie in the depths of this prison? Where is that prison? The body, the mind. I am the providence of pure light, I replied. This is Christ. I am the thought of the Virgin Spirit, raising you up to an honored place. Rise up. Remember what you've heard. Trace back your roots to the real light. This world we are physically in right now is an illusion. It is a level of dim light created by Satan and his followers, and they are called argons. Now, I use the word Satan. He's got different names in these books. But this is, and basically, it is a story of Satan and a third of the angels getting kicked out of heaven, mad as hell, and when they fell, they created this trap to keep you from rising. Remember what you have heard, trace back your roots to me, the merciful one. That's through prayer and meditation, and everything they do is to distract you from that connection. And there's 3 levels of that, guys. The third level is the most dangerous. There's 3 things that you can do. There's certain ways to rise above what they're trying to do, just like Christ is saying here. Trace back your roots. Now, the last level in this illusion, the third level, again the most dangerous, is where once you come out of the first two traps they set up in your mind, doubt, guilt, fear, all of that, then you start to become, your light becomes a little brighter. Immediately, these spirits that control this dimension realize that. They say, uh-oh, we got one slipping out of this prison. What do? They let a little more of their light into it to make it look like you have reached the light that Christ is talking about, the providence of pure light. And so what happens, and it really, you've seen it if you think about people that have been on that journey of enlightenment and things like that, they get to a certain level and they get bogged down. And when they get bogged down, they start falling backwards. And what that is, again, is you think, okay, I've overcome them telling me that I can't do this, and these frequencies, the doubt, the hate, and it goes into detail. But when you get to that third level, hear me out, they are afraid. So they have to create, again, the place has to lighten up a little bit, appear to be like a heaven, and you become satisfied in the middle of your journey. And so that's the third trap. And so what we're dealing with, guys, is intelligence behind the interference of your thoughts. It's not your mind. You're not the one going crazy. You're not the one that needs to let Pfizer give you something. These spirits are interfering with your true thoughts and your true journey, and you have to stop it. We're going to get into that. But it's, again, realization. Suddenly you're trying to think something through, just like when I'm trying to do this video, 1,000 things will happen around me. When you can turn that off, if possible, then you're kind of getting out of that first stage. And then they will attack you harder. The doubt that you can do things, that there's no way that your thoughts are crazy, and that certain old books are dangerous. Don't read this information. You can't handle it. You can't handle the truth. Or we're going to sidetrack you away from the truth in any way we can. Well, you get, again, those first two levels, and you start controlling your thoughts and realizing there's an intelligent outside interference, and you have to be prepared to block it. Then the third one comes, I'll repeat myself, and it appears that you have escaped the first two sections, or the first two intelligent interference frequencies, and that's to suppress the human spirit. They let you think that you have made it. And it's just a trap, again, in the middle. And you don't ever get out unless you realize that is a fake light. I know it's a little heavy. A lot of you already understand it, though. You know who the archons are. Archons, excuse me. You understand that. And guys, it's very deep, and you need to approach it with a very open mind. And again, when you can tie Christ into it, it makes it a lot easier. So it's a good place to start. Go into this hymn. And again, Christ said, trace back your roots to me, the merciful one. Not anything, don't be distracted. Here's three things he says. Guard against the poverty demons. You're going to be poor. You can't do anything. You don't have a sound mind, whatever it is. You think poor, you stay poor. Guard against the chaos demons, the ones that create the chaos around you to keep you from ever being able to slow down and concentrate on our Father. Guard against all who would bind you. Now, binding is, if you think about getting into that third level where you think you've made it, but it's a brighter light, but it's still dim, those are the ones that are binding you. In each of these sections, your mind is being overwhelmed with the frequencies of the demons, and you have to block that. He said, guard against the poverty demons, guard against the chaos demons, Guard against all who will bind you. Awaken, stay awake, rise out of the depths of the underworld. I raised him up, I sealed him with the light, water of the 5 seals. Death had no power over him again. This is the ones that woke. Again, I raised him up. I sealed him with the light, not this dim light, and the water of the 5 seals, the living water. Death has no power over him ever again. Why? Because he's free from this illusion, this creation around us that leads to death. And your body does die in this realm. And it was created for you to fear death and to fear and to doubt and to be in poverty and to be binded. He said, I ascend again to the perfect realm. I completed everything, and you have heard it. And that's the end of this section of the book. Guys, it's excellent. And if you have an open mind, you realize what I'm talking about. There's nothing greater than the attack on your spiritual mind. Keep you in darkness, keep you in doubt. Right now, you're probably trying to think about what I'm saying, and somebody's trying to interfere with it. Maybe no one's there. Maybe you think it's your mind wandering. But Christ is saying these exist. They're here, and it gets much deeper than this. I just wanted to get into the water easy because it's going to get deep. Now, a lot of you are already past this point, and I'm proud. And some people will turn away because that's one of the demons of chaos. They're going to say, this is non-canonized. They're going to tell you to say, this is not part of the Bible when it originally was. You can't listen to this. It doesn't go along with what the Bible says when it was part of the original Bible. But they had to take out the cream of the crop and leave us the crumbs, just enough to hang into this illusion of their religion and their control, not only of our minds, but of the political minds. That's why you see the chaos there, the demons of chaos. This spiritual battle is within us, and what that means, and just like the kingdom of heaven is within us, the battle is within us, the spiritual battle that we have been warned about. It's controlling your mind and preventing these demons from interfering. Focused on Christ. Keep that thought. And that's why it's so important to stay in prayer. And it's not like you got your eyes closed walking across the street blind and get run over. It's the frame of mind that you're aware of when you become aware, let me say this, of these demons and their chaos and their poverty and their binding, that is the first step to blocking them. If you don't know they're there, guys, they've won. Because you think it's you. It was placed this way by Satan in this illusion, just like getting kicked out of the spiritual garden into the physical garden. What happened then? Death was introduced to Adam and Eve, and since then, because it is a physical realm that is a false realm. And the way to break through that, again, guard against the poverty demons, the chaos demons, guard against those who bind you. And so, realization first. Then, and that would include this. Suddenly your thoughts, your pure thoughts are being interfered with. Now you know why. Now you know to put that aside. On all of these demons, put that aside. And again, the most dangerous one of all is the third trap of the binding, making you think. Because what's happening is once you start to wake up against these demons, they become very afraid. And that was why they created the third trap. They started seeing a long time ago, probably because of Christ, people waking up. So what did they do? They said, well, let's make them think they made it. Since they're making it, let's give them a false heaven. But there's a great heaven, and there you are not in the realm of death. That is the living word. And Christ knew this. And I'm not going to make it much longer, but remember Christ said to pray for your enemy because these demons control the enemy. And by praying for them, you may push the demons out. Why did he tell Peter to put the sword down? To make people realize that it's a demonically controlled situation. Don't make it worse. Pray for your enemy that they are freed because they have lost the game. Now this gets deeper. Like I said, it goes into being born from above, not born again. That's false. In the Bible, in the original languages, born from above, from the water and the Spirit. Okay? It gets into that. And then a lot of these people that are not awake were not born from above. They were created by Satan in their realm of darkness. And they know that they are the underlings of Christ's children. We have the bright light. That's why they're jealous, and that's why they do everything they can to dim your light down, my friends. Again, I know stones will fly. It has to be done, though. My Father will not let me rest unless I do my best to explain these books we're going through. He will not let me rest. I go to bed thinking about the best way to handle it. I wake up doing it amongst the chaos of 11 dogs. But I love them, and that makes a difference. Okay? It is distracting. But that's another thing that God put in my basket, is to take care of these animals. That's why we call it the Art Project. They are His blessed creatures. So you take very good care of yours too. We're watching it, guys. May our Father bless every one of you. Be safe.